Hey, what's up folks? Kevin Roberts here, the Fit Chef of Mississippi, here to teach you a couple of tricks and trades on how to flex on your next meal. So today I'm going to teach y'all how to make some good old-fashioned Southern buttermilk biscuits. This is something I learned how to make from my grandma at such a young age, and I'm also going to teach y'all how to make some sausage gravy dip and also another little twist on some biscuits too. And so today the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach y'all how to make some good old-fashioned Southern buttermilk biscuits. This is one of the first things my grandmother taught me whenever I was at a young age. I think I was 5 years old, standing up next to her on the counter. She showed me how to do this every Sunday. This is what we used to eat every Sunday. Then the best way to start is with flour, absolutely. So we're going to start off with 8 cups of all-purpose flour. By the way, we're making a pretty decent amount of this because I want to show y'all something else that you can do with this dough. We're going to take this dough and we're actually going to end up making some party favors out of it, where you take the dough and you roll it out really thin, and then you can put honey butter on it. So what's that? That's 4. We're going for 8. So here we go right here. That's 5. But you can make these biscuit chips and you can dip it. Instead of covering your biscuit with gravy, we're going to use the biscuit to scoop up the gravy. You're going to love it, I promise you. But first, I'm hungry. It's breakfast time here. It's time to get started. So start off 8 cups of good old purpose flour. Then you're gonna take 5 tablespoons of baking powder. Then you're gonna take 1.5 tablespoons of baking soda. Traditionally, a lot of times you don't see a lot of baking soda in buttermilk biscuits, but today I'm putting it in there just for a little bit of extra leavening, all right? Then we're gonna take 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, put that guy in there. To make it easy, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and whisk all this together. There we go. Get it nice, mixed up, light and fluffy. There we go, right there, perfect. Now, the secret to good biscuit dough is gonna be cold butter. I'm sure you probably heard this. Anytime you've ever made biscuits, you always wanna use the coldest butter possible. This butter's been sitting in the freezer for about 4 hours. We're gonna take it out. Instead of cutting it up though, what I wanna do with it today is we're gonna grate it. Have you ever grated butter before? It's pretty interesting. This way you go through, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna grate this and we're gonna get it set up, all right guys? All right guys, so here you see, grating all this butter right here. You gotta be real careful though, if you mess up, because this butter, you can kind of scrape your hands across this grater real fast and real easy. But what it's doing is, we're gonna allow this butter to coat this flour real easy. So we're gonna cut this up, grate it, get it set up. There we go. It starts to get kind of tough at the end, because your hands are hot and you're trying to rub it down. And there we go, look at that. All that butter right there, perfect, good to go. That guy in the sink. It's almost like butter pasta. Like I'm over here making angel hair butter pasta. I know, right? Sounds kind of crazy. So what we do here is we go through and we start to work this in as best as we can. And our goal here is to get this butter to coat the flour, coat those proteins, get it nice and kind of bonded together. And then in a second, I'm gonna add in some egg yolk and some buttermilk. And that's right, I'm putting a little bit of egg yolk in mine for a little extra added fats. All right, so once you get this butter really mixed in really nice with this flour, and you get it in there and it looks all nice and crumbly just like this, kind of look almost like sand pretty much, you're gonna grab 2 whole eggs, just like so. These nice beautiful brown eggs that I'm gonna use right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crack them and I'm gonna separate them, and I want the egg whites go in the trash. By the way, there's a nice little handy dandy trash can underneath here. So we're gonna put this right here. And then we're gonna put the egg yolks in there, just like so. I got this little bowl, this little well, put those guys in there. Then we're gonna pour in our buttermilk. We're gonna use 2 cups of nice, good, fresh buttermilk. Put that right there in the middle. There we go. And then you can use a spoon, you can use your hands. Personally, in the beginning part, I like to use a spoon so I can go around in a circle and kind of mix it in at a decent amount. Now, when I was younger, my grandma used to just put it right directly on the table and go from there. So I'm gonna get this guy mixed up, and then once it's nice and mixed up, we're gonna roll it out flat and put it on top of this counter, and we're gonna cut up some biscuits, all right? So once you start to get kind of the buttermilk and the flour kind of mixed together pretty well, what I like to do then is we're actually gonna go ahead and roll this out directly onto this cutting board right quick. And so what we'll do, I'm gonna put this aside and kind of work it in there a little bit. That way we can incorporate the buttermilk. We can kind of incorporate the flour. Yes, biscuits do get messy, all right? This is not a clean recipe. That extra added egg yolk, what that does is it really kind of holds as a binding agent, because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to overwork your dough. And I'm gonna sit here and work this dough for just a second, all right? So once you get the dough kind of pushed together and kind of formed together, you have to start rolling it out. But I realized I made a very big mistake right quick. I don't have a big enough space here. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pick up this cutting board. I'm gonna grab a little bit of flour. I'm gonna throw this flour down, just like so. And I'm gonna roll this down here. Oh, look at that guy. Perfect. I'm gonna set this to the side for a minute. Now what I wanna do is I'm gonna roll this dough out just a little bit, and I'm gonna fold it over itself. So when you're doing this, put a little bit of flour across the top. If you notice, you can look at the cracks and crevices here. That means that dough has not been worked too much. And this is a good trick that I learned that's gonna make your dough really flaky. We're gonna create layers. And so we're gonna go across just like this. Perfect. Then what you wanna do is, it's kind of like doing a laminated dough. You're gonna go over, you're gonna fold it over one side. You're gonna grab the other end, you're gonna fold it again. And then from here, kind of make square, a rectangle. You're gonna pat it down just like this. Roll it out just a little bit, but not too much, all right? Your goal here is we're gonna make some really nice thick biscuits. But the thing is, I'm only gonna use half of this dough. Only half of this dough is gonna go toward our biscuits. The other half is gonna go through something special. I'll show you. So roll it out. You want about 1.5 to 2 inches thick. And what I'm gonna use a pastry cutter right here. I'm gonna take about a little bit less than half out, just like that. And then I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna cut it just like this. Now, when making biscuits, the only thing you wanna do is you wanna go straight up and down. You don't wanna slide it around. Otherwise, you'll end up with some end pieces to your dough that doesn't puff up very well. And so, obviously these biscuits are not gonna be very perfect. That's okay. If I learned anything in life, perfect biscuits is not a good thing, all right? All right, so once you get your biscuits cut, obviously, these are a little bit more rectangle than I wanted to, so hopefully nobody in the South makes fun of me for making these imperfect biscuits, but just like me, it makes it work, all right? Here we go. So, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a sheet tray like this, and just like my grandma used to do, I'm gonna rub it down with a bunch of vegetable shortening, just like this. Get it nice and smooth. I preset the oven to 375 degrees. So we're gonna get that oven going at 375. I'm gonna put these biscuits on here. These guys, I want them to puff up and get nice crispy edges, so I'm not gonna have them touch. A lot of times in the South, they'll put these biscuits side by side so that way they rise up to the top. I'm gonna put these guys just like this right here. But I'm gonna add a little something extra to it, all right? Got a little bit of melted butter. So about 2 tablespoons of melted butter and about 1 tablespoon of honey. I'm gonna pour this honey directly onto it, that butter. I'm gonna get this good and mixed up a little bit. Here we go. Oh, and then I'm going to brush the tops of these guys with this nice melted honey butter right here. Oh, this is gonna be glorious. Can't wait. So brush these across the top. And then it's gonna go in the oven at 375 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. So while we wait on those biscuits to bake, I'm gonna show y'all what to do with the rest of this dough, all right? This is something I did a couple years ago. I helped open and run a restaurant where I thought it'd be great to use biscuit chips to scoop out sausage gravy. So this dough, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna roll this dough out a little bit flatter than your average biscuit. By the way, I learned this by mistake because one day I rolled out the dough way too flat and it got really crispy, and I realized, hey, maybe if we dehydrate these biscuits and we can make them into chips, right? So roll it out nice and flat, just like so. And of course, the more thin and more flatter it is, the more crispier you can make your chips. Get this guy rolled out. Now, if your rolling pin starts to stick a little bit, naturally, add just a little bit more flour to the front and the top, just like this. Get it in there, stretch it out. Perfect. So now we have the same biscuit dough, that we're gonna turn into chips. And so, got a nice handy dandy pizza cutter right here, all right? This just makes it a lot more easier. Now granted, you can go through, if you're really OCD and want some nice clean edges, go through, cut it down into squares just like this. Perfect, it works. Get rid of all that. Now you can go through, cut it just like this, and go across it. Now you can make little chips out of it, and then bam. What we're gonna do, we're gonna put this on a sheet tray, and we're gonna brush it with that same honey butter right here. So, get these guys on here. All right, so once you fill a sheet tray full of these biscuit chips ready, what we're gonna do is we're gonna brush them with that same honey butter that we used just a second ago. And then get this honey butter, we're gonna go across the top and just brush it across there just like this. So these guys, you're gonna cook at a lower temperature. You're gonna cook these about 325 degrees. You wanna do this for a little bit longer. That way we actually dehydrate these. That way it actually looks and feels like an actual chip. That way it doesn't bend, it doesn't break. We want it to be nice, crispy, and crunchy. So, go across, get these brushed up really nicely. There we are. Perfect. The good thing is the rest of this dough right here, if you're not gonna use this dough right away, you can put it into a Ziploc bag and you can actually freeze it. All I say is put a little bit of extra flour on there just so it doesn't stick, all right? These guys are gonna go in the oven, like I said, 325 for about 25 minutes. And so we're gonna put these guys right in there. Perfect. Let those guys go for a little bit longer, all right? In just a second, those other biscuits are gonna come out, and then in the meanwhile, I'm gonna show you how to make some really good sausage gravy, okay? All right, so while we wait on those biscuits to come out, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a quick batch of sausage gravy dip. I call this sausage gravy dip because it's gonna be a combination of sausage gravy and Tuesday dip. And if you're from the South, we love eating sausage, rotel dip, and also cream cheese mixed together. It's a really good dip that goes good with, some corn chips. But today we're gonna use those biscuit chips for that. So start off, you get a nice little hot cast iron skillet. You're gonna throw in some sausage. You can get sausage from your local butcher, or you can use the sausage, Jimmy Dean, something good like that from the house, from the grocery store. All right, so we're gonna cook this guy up. We're gonna brown it for a good bit. We're gonna let this sausage get good and brown, and then we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of it, and then we're gonna add in some half and half. I got 2 cups of half and half. We're gonna put 2 tablespoons of flour in there. I got 1 block of cream cheese. I'm gonna use 1 10-ounce can of diced tomatoes and peppers. I'm gonna put all this in here in just a second, all right? All right, so once this sausage starts to brown off and get all that fat and all that good flavor kind of rendered out, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take about 2 tablespoons of flour and sprinkle that in there just like this. Perfect. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bind together that flour with the fat that comes out of the sausage, and basically we're creating a roux. This is gonna be our thickening agent that whenever we add our half and half to, which I choose half and half, that way you get a little extra creaminess from the heavy cream, and of course, the good subtle taste of it too. So, get this guy nice and browned off, get it mixed in there. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit, because as soon as I hit this half and half in there, it's gonna start to thicken up really nice. So, add in your half and half, just like this. And we're gonna bring that to a boil. And as soon as that comes to a boil, we're gonna add some cream cheese, and we're gonna add some of this rotel dip to it, these rotels, and a little salt and pepper. All right, so once this sausage gravy starts to kind of heat up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take roughly 1 good solid teaspoon of kosher salt, and then we're gonna take a couple of cracks with some fresh cracked black pepper. I like mine with a little bit of a kick, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more pepper to it, all right? So we're gonna add a little bit of pepper to it, get this stirred up. I'm gonna take some cream cheese. I'm gonna add that cream cheese into it. And as soon as that cream cheese starts to melt out, then we're gonna take these diced tomatoes and chilies. We're gonna scoop that in there too. And we're gonna put it on low, and we're gonna let this cook out. We're gonna let the cream cheese cook out for a little while. We're gonna get together, and this is gonna make a real amazing, real delicious dip right quick. All right, so the cream cheese is nice and melted. Sausage gravy starts to look really nice, good, bubbly, thick. This is a real good consistency. I hear the timer just went off for these biscuits. I'm gonna pull these guys out. And man, would you look at that? Look at the size of these guys right here. That is phenomenal. These guys toasted up really nice. And you know what? I've been working all morning. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go ahead and get a plate of this because this is phenomenal. Look at the size of that biscuit. Look, it's nice and fluffy. You can hear it too, nice and crispy. Oh, then I got this sausage gravy right here. Check it out. Goes straight across the top. This thing right here is absolutely delicious. Look at that. Now this is a meal that's gonna make you wanna go to sleep right afterwards, but it's only breakfast time. So, oh wait, I forgot about the biscuit chips. Let's check those guys out too. And look at these little guys. So now, got a perfect little handheld snack. I go right in here, dip it up just like this. So now I can dip it up. Man, that is really good. I'm gonna taste this guy right here too. And oh man, this looks good right here. By the way, guys, thank y'all for joining me today. Stay tuned. We got some more great things coming, and I really thank my grandmother for teaching me how to make biscuits.